Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today, I am very excited to be having a conversation with Michael Boxer of the a cappella group 613. Thank you so much for being on my show. I am so excited to be talking with you.
I'm excited to be here.
Um, yes, so first of all, I just want to say that I love all of 613's music, and I love your new evolution of Taylor Swift Hanukkah version. That was on repeat of all 8 nights of Hanukkah.
I hope you don't get tired of it.
Yeah. No, it's so good. Um, so where do you find inspiration for your songs?
So, it comes from, a variety of different places. When we do a lot of different things. We do our own original songs. Sometimes we'll take, prayers from the Jewish tradition, and we'll take those words, we'll do our own melodies. Sometimes we come up with, Jewish related things that, of our own words. And then we do covers of, other people's songs. But, of course, what a lot of people know us for is, when we do these parodies and these pop tunes and things like that. So, we know that like those are the couple of times a year where we're going to get like the most attention and the most exposure for people to find out who we are and maybe consider bringing us out to perform for them. So when we do that, we usually think about like, okay, what's going to appeal to the most people? Is it going to be an original song in Hebrew, which not everybody speaks, or is it going to be pop songs by the most successful pop artist pretty much of all time, who is really hot right now? So this year, when we sat down to figure out like, okay, what do we want to do for Hanukkah? It was like, well, is there anybody who is bigger right now than Taylor Swift? It would be silly to do anything else. So we were like, okay, what are we going to do for Taylor Swift? And they're like, well, you know what? She has like 20 number ones, and she has like 150 songs that have been on the charts. So like we should do like an evolution model like a lot of other groups have done, and let's do pieces of a bunch of different things. So that's how we did that. In years past, when the movie about Queen and Freddie Mercury was coming out, we were like, this would be the perfect time to finally do Bohemian Rhapsody, which is just like a challenging enough and fun enough piece that we wanted to do for a long time. And at other times where we're just kind of like, okay, there isn't really anything that is overwhelmingly popular. So you know what? Now let's just do Billy Joel, because we all love Billy Joel and we've always wanted to do a bunch of his songs. So, now let's do that. So it's a lot of different things, but it usually comes around to what's going to make people most happy and what's going to stick in their minds the most.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So do you have a specific songwriting process?
Yeah, we do. When it's like a parody song, it's pretty much like there isn't a lot of, it kind of cuts down the amount of creativity that you have to do, because instead of saying, okay, we could do anything, we could come up with any words, sing any note, it's kind of like, okay, well, the music is already set and the lyrics are already there, and we want to try to come up with lyrics that are as close as possible to what's already there. So what we actually started doing was we would figure out what songs we were doing and what parts of the songs, and we literally just take the original lyrics on one side of the page, and then on the next side of the page, so like, okay, what could we put here? And we have a number of guys who do different things. There are 3 or 4 or 5 different guys in the group who contribute lyrics, and some of them will just literally give us 1 or 2 lines every time, And then there are some guys who just like love doing it and they'll do like the whole thing. And there are a couple of other songwriters or lyric writers outside the group who we've kind of met over the years who like give us some pieces of things too. So all those people come together and put together whatever ideas they may have. And then it's up to me as kind of the producer to try to kind of weave it all together and decide if there are if there are two or three options for a couple of lines, what's the best one and what's going to be the most cohesive with the thing coming before it and after it. And then of course there are a few lines where nobody came up with anything, and then I just have to sit there until I can figure out something to go there.
Hmm. Oh, I love that. That's so cool. Yeah. So is there a song of yours that is your favorite to perform?
Um, Probably the Bohemian Hanukkah that we came up with. It's just like it's so there's so much energy that goes into it. It's also it's a huge challenge. Like where other songs are kind of like they follow the pop formula and it's the same chords over and over again, which means it's the same notes that you're going to sing over and over again. Not Bohemian Rhapsody. If you know the song, it's just like not only is it okay, we did this one thing and that those 3 seconds of music that's never going to happen again. Now it's a brand new section of music. You have to remember so much, and it just keeps changing and changing. And the way that the music flows and the chord modulations and changes, and the time signature changes, it just like really keeps you on your feet. So it's really satisfying. It was very satisfying for us when we were able to like actually get it down and pull it off. And it's also just so much fun. So in terms of performing it, that's the most fun for sure.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So how do you motivate yourself on days you aren't really feeling it?
That's a, that's a very good question. Sometimes it's just, well, there's a deadline, and sometimes it's like, I can't wait to get back to this. We all have things that we have to do outside of things for 613. Whether it's marriage and children, or it's our other jobs, full-time jobs. So it's kind of like, oh, wow, I'm really enjoying writing this song, or I'm really enjoying coming up with these lyrics. Can't wait to get back to it. But it's like, well, that's too bad because your boss needs to talk to you for the next half hour. Um, but and there are other days where it's like you do have the time, but you don't really have the motivation. But it's kind of like, what day is it? Well, if I don't have this done today, then the arrangement can't get done on time. And if the arrangement doesn't get done on time, then the guys can't record it. And if they can't record it on time, then it's going to come out like on the seventh night of Hanukkah, and we're just going to miss the whole window. So I just, it's like just be a big boy and get to work.
Um, so that sounds kind of like it can be a little bit stressful.
It can for sure. I mean, specifically for me, just because I tend to be the person who winds up doing a lot of the work, as the director and as the owner of the business, all those little things that you got to do. Sometimes it's things having to do with production and getting the mixes done and the songs done, and sometimes it's getting a contract out to your client for next month's show, or chasing after this guy to find out if he's going to be available for the show or not, and so those things really do add up and it can become stressful. But at the end of the day, and I think it's probably, you would understand this better than a lot of people, is like when there's something that you really love and it really makes you feel good, you find the time, and you find ways to catch up on your sleep because you had to stay up late getting something done.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, that's really impressive being able to do all of that. So, um, so what song or singer do you consider to be the gold standard of storytelling or songwriting?
Um, well, so for me, I mean, I've always been a huge fan of Billy Joel. um, is interesting because most of the the music that he made was before I was even born. And the last time he even came out with a new album, I was 13 years old, and I was really just discovering him. But it really says something that he's been going on tour since then, year after year after year, and still sells out shows, even though he hasn't come out with anything new in 30 years. And it's just because his stuff is so enduring. So when you talk about gold standards of songwriting, like here's a guy who wrote stuff in 1978 and 1983 and 1987 and 1993, and people still just like jump up and down and play it and listen to it live. Him doing it at 75 years old or however old he may be now, and still just like it just came out yesterday. And he also doesn't. It's not like Bruce Springsteen or Bruno Mars, where there's a specific style that you expect, and you could tell that that's a Bruno Mars song. Like one album that he has is like everything sounds like the Beatles, and another album is everything sounds like stuff from the '60s, and another is more pop focused. So the guy can really do anything. I don't know, if he's much of a storyteller, necessarily. Like there are definitely some songs where it's kind of telling the saga of something going on. When you think of lyricism, if you're talking about stories, think of more like maybe Don McLean and Harry Chapin and things like that, where literally he's like bringing you through like the years of someone's existence and things like that.
Yeah.
But Billy's been my guy, always has been.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I am such a fan of Billy Joel's. I love him. So yeah. Um, so what three words best describe you?
Three words best describe 613. Well, um, you know, the obvious answer is Jewish, which was always, in the past, if you had asked me that, I would still say Jewish, because it's like, well, that's our whole identity. That's like what we do. But lately, in the past few months, it just feels like, yeah, it's still a given and still pretty obvious, but it's more important than ever because our whole existence, in a lot of people's eyes, has come under fire. And there's never been a time in my life that I can remember, having to think about like, am I safe? Are my kids safe in New York City? And we're not even talking about going to Israel or going overseas or anything like that. And say what you will about whatever political motivations may have gotten people there. Anti-Semitism is out front, and it's like more okay than ever was before. So we feel it's so important to be Jewish and to be visibly Jewish and proudly Jewish and outwardly Jewish. So it's a bit of a sidebar, but like the answer is Jewish. I think the second word is probably entertaining, because I think that we do our shows and we don't just go out there and do music and try and rock really hard. We take the time to talk to the audience and to make them laugh and such like that. Because unless it is somebody like Billy Joel, where you're just like, wow, I cannot wait to hear 3 straight hours of this guy's music and nothing else. There are very few people who you could say that about. So with us, we try and make it entertaining. And I don't know if I'm only picking 3 words. It's I would say it's genuine because we really do love what we do, and I think that really comes through in the things that we make.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So what small things bring you joy on a daily basis?
What small things? Are we talking about as a group and what we do, or just in like life?
Yeah. Just in, I think really just in life.
Well, I mean, I could tie it back. I mean, you know, when I was in my 20s, um, you know, I had, you know, the my girlfriend who is now my wife, and you know, I had my social life, and I had a lot of different musical product projects. And as time goes on, 613 got bigger, and I had three amazing children. You know, first there was one, and then there was two, and then there was three, obviously. So as those things began, you know, as that happens in your life, um, some things have to go away. So there were fewer and fewer, you know, musical projects, and it became more and more just 613. And you know, there was less and less, you know, free time and social life, and you know, interaction with friends and things like that. So by default, um, you know, 90% of my life is 613 and family. But luckily for me, those are the things that bring me just, you know, endless joy. And you know, what's really been great as they've gotten older, you know, and they're not just, you know, little nuggets that walk around and don't really understand much of the world. You know, now they're like 9 and 10, and you know, they think what I do is cool, and you know, they'll come to rehearsal, and they'll come to sound check, and they'll come to shows. And you know, my daughter is, you know, she's like a social media fiend, and she's actually edited a couple of TikToks for 613. So like that's been really just like the cherry on top, is when I get to bring those two things together. Um, you know, or when they come home from school and they're like, "Dad, they played your music video in school today," and everyone was like, "Oh my God, Ruby, that's your dad! I can't believe it." So you know, it's the kids make me happy, and my wife makes me happy. You know, every single little tiny thing that they do. You know, like
Yeah.
parents will tell you like, my kid poops and I'm proud of them. You know, but you know, and 613 made me happy, and every time we would achieve something new, or we'd get 3 million views, or we'd go to the White House, that was cool. But now, now when like they're like the worlds are intersecting, it's like just a whole new level of joy.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So who has had the biggest impact on you professionally, and who has had the biggest impact on you as a person?
um, well, let's see, professionally is a much harder question to answer, because we kind of charted our own course. You know, there before us, there weren't really any Jewish contemporary a cappella groups. There was one, and they really, you know, they were just like a brand new thing. But they were more rooted in the world of like doo-wop and traditional, not choral harmony, but like very kind of conservative type stuff. And we were the ones who brought the contemporary sound to 613. So like people didn't really like know what to do with us when we came out. Um, and there was no YouTube, and there was no social media, you know, when we first hit the scene, which was like 2004. So, you know, there were, you know, guys like Jordan Gorfinkel, who was a member of Bitachon, you know, was really kind of very encouraging to me. But, you know, in terms of like a professional guidance sort of thing, you know, if even more so than I was, he was kind of like, you know, um, like building the parachute as he landed, so to speak, because you know there was no like set way of doing things. Um, you know, but now we kind of, as a community, you know, you have the Maccabeats who, you know, started after us, but had their big hit, and you know, with Candlelight, and really just shot ahead of us. So you know, we learn a lot from each other, and we lean a lot on each other. So they're, you know, they're a great professional influence, and the Y Studs as well. And really just the guys in my own band, you know, when they started, you know, they were, you know, actually Craig Resmovich joined the group. He was 19 years old, and he was just like a little kid, and he was like happy to be there and get a chance to do something professional. You know, but over the years, like he, you know, guys like him and Morty, I've become the student and they've become the teacher, because they really carved out a place for them, you know, doing professional Jewish music for a living, you know, playing on concerts with really very popular Orthodox Jewish artists, and doing weddings and understanding how the business works. So, um, again, we've taught each other a lot in that same kind of way. And as a personal influence, I mean, the answer that comes to mind without even thinking is my mom and dad. Um, because I haven't, um, even if I had had anybody else who had really been in position to be anything of a mentor of sorts to me, in a personal perspective, I mean, there really isn't anybody that I'm quicker to turn to than them, just because just having watched the incredible job that they did with raising me and my brother, and really not coming from much, and doing their own thing, and um, and navigating everything, personal situations, social situations, financial, what have you. So they're the people I look to for guidance when I need it.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So what's your favorite way to procrastinate?
Oh my God, I don't need any more ways to procrastinate. Um, I don't. Procrastination um, is probably it's not so much of a choice for me as it is, so it's not more of a favorite way. But I guess if I had to figure out what my favorite is by what I do most often, it's probably like internet rabbit holes, where it's like
Yeah.
maybe I'll be scrolling through social media, and Facebook and Instagram, they do a pretty good job of figuring out like what you like, for better or for worse. It's kind of scary,
Yeah.
so they're showing me stuff, and it's like, oh wow, yeah, you know that uh that composer, I didn't know that about them, or that movie that I really liked, what was that guy in, and then I'll like want to look up things. So
Yeah.
it's always kind of like a social media like doom scroll that turns into like an impromptu like education session, and I'm like googling things and like reading articles about things, and then I'll look up and I'm like, oh my God, I was supposed to finish this work 3 hours ago, what did I just do?
Yeah. Yeah, that it's so easy to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so what song best describes your life right now?
Describes our life right now. um wow, that is impossible to answer because there's so many songs in the world. I mean, um, I think that if I were to narrow it down to what is a song of ours, I think that if you were to look to, I guess on two levels, there is a song, our version of Shema, and I keep coming back to it because two things. Number one is the words of it, are here, listen to this, nation of Israel, there is one God, and um, that's what it literally means. But what it really boils down to is the central affirmation of our faith is that we know that there is this one God, and we put all of our faith and all of our trust in Him, and we're devoted and we're loyal and we don't believe in anything else, and that's kind of the central tenet of what Judaism is. And in a lot of ways, it's just kind of us just redeclaring every day, that we believe and that we have faith, and it's something that is said, sometimes in times of strength, but also in times of trouble, and to get morose with a little bit. I know that it's something that when someone knows they're about to die is what they say. It's just something that lifts you up through difficult times. So being that it's a central declaration of faith, it's very pertinent right now for myself and everybody in the Jewish faith, who need kind of that reaffirmation that we're going to get through this, and that this isn't, it's not the end of the Jewish people, and that things will be back to normal one day. And then the other thing is, a story that I like to tell is, sometimes when you write a song, you can sit down and say, okay, I'm going to sit down and I need to come up with a melody for this song, and I'm not leaving until I have one. and you can sit at a piano, you can say like, all right, maybe it'll go like this, maybe it'll go like that, and you force yourself to come up with a melody. But there are other times where things pop into your head and they just flow out of you, and you didn't try to write it; it's just there. Almost, like it was sitting in your subconscious, or people who were over religious might say like, yeah, it came to me from the spiritual realm, if you want. Um, but it really can be, your creativity can be a manifestation of your emotional state. And so it's been at times when I'm really inspired or really moved or really sad, that songs are born. And 10 years ago, when my wife and I decided, we really wanted to have kids, and we were trying, and it doesn't always happen right away, and that can be very, very, really, devastating for people who really want to have kids, and it's not within their control. And so over the amount of time that we were trying and it just wasn't happening, there was a song that came out of that called Kolhan Shema, and if you listen to it, you can hear it's really kind of like very like eerie and haunting, and it's like it's in a major key, but it's sad. And this song Shema came about a year and a half later, where we found out that she was pregnant, and that my daughter Ruby was coming, and like that day, I remember just kind of I wasn't doing anything, but just really just kind of like poured right out of me, and this melody that is probably by far the one that people tell me is like, that song is so beautiful, I love it so much, more than anything else. And I'm like, yeah, well, that makes sense, because that came at one of my moments of greatest joy. So that song is kind of a representation of kind of making it through the storm and coming out into the sun. And for various reasons, that can, in certain areas of life right now, for me, that is the case. And for the whole of the Jewish people, that is the case. And that is my very, very long-winded explanation as to why that song strikes a chord for me right now.
Oh, well, I love that. Yeah. I just have one more question, if that
Sure.
works for you. So I love inspiring and motivational quotes, and this week my favorite quotation is, "It takes bravery to be happy. There is unmistakable courage in joy." Is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
Um, that sounds really familiar, and I think it was that in your email signature. Is that why I remember that?
I don't think so. No, I haven't figured out how to put a quote in my
Okay.
email signature, so but I think I reposted it on Instagram. So
Okay. Yeah, as I've definitely, I mean, if it wasn't you, then that's pretty crazy, because I definitely heard it like this week.
oh,
Um, yeah, I mean, there are I mean, I think there is something that my mom said to me once that actually has been really valuable to me, like at every point in time. And I can't really say it here the exact way that she said it to me. Um, but what it really boils down to is that, like, no bad situation is permanent. Nothing is forever, and there may be like tough stuff that you have to go through, but you just go through it, and then eventually you get through it and you come out to the other side. Um, so anytime that there's been a point of adversity, for me, it's really kind of silly, but it just really has really just made a big difference for me.
yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll leave
that's
it I'll leave it to you and your listeners to determine exactly the way that she phrased it,
okay.
but um, but
Yeah,
that's what it really means.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Well, it was so much fun talking with you. I so appreciate your taking the time, and yeah, I can't wait to see everything else that 613 does. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks for thinking enough of us to put me on the show.
Of course, thank you so much for coming on.
Alrighty.
And yeah, and that's a wrap on today's edition of The Latest to Admire.